The Gauteng provincial government says only a few non-profit organizations have not been paid, but insist that this is only due to non-compliance issues. The MECs for Finance and Social Development gave a progress update a short while ago following an uproar over budget cuts and non-payment. Let's now get more of those details from our reporter Veronica Makhoali, who's standing by with the MEC for Social Development in Gauteng, Faith Mazibuko. Veronica, over to you.
Thank you so much, Aldrin. As you've said, we heard there the Social Development Department essentially reinstating its commitment to ensuring that NPOs in Gauteng are able to provide that crucial, assistance that it provides to the most vulnerable in our society. Hearing more a commitment to adjust the budget to more than 2 billion rand. This is a 13% growth. And I think what was also really important coming out of this briefing was hearing the very few number of NGOs that have been left in terms of getting that subsidy to them. They also mentioned, of course, the various reasons why these subsidies haven't been paid yet. Issues, of course, of some of the NGOs having non-compliance. And that was a very strong indication in terms of the social development efforts to somewhat mend this relationship. As you've mentioned, I am joined by the MEC. And I think the first question I have to pose to you, MEC, in terms of where we stand right now, what is the relationship at the moment between the department and the NPOs?
In fact, the relationship is improving, mostly because we've managed to reinstate the funding. So they are continuing to provide those services that they were providing on behalf of the department. So we've managed to cement our relationship, and we have committed in ensuring that they continue working with us hand in glove in ensuring that all the beneficiaries that are getting those services, like your drop-in centers, for example. If you go to many townships, after school, children have got a place to go where they are also assisted with homeworks, where they're able to get nutrition. And you've got quite a lot of luncheon clubs of the Kokos where they're able to go there. And Mkulus, always we leave Mkulus out, where they're able to gather and they're taught skills. There's active aging programs there. But over and above, ensuring that they do get services that they actually get. The old age homes that were not funded, some of them had to find themselves closing down because of funding that is not coming through. Remember, some of them, they can't only rely on that social grant that they get. Once you're a resident, what we call your independent living, but some of the funding that goes into that facility is to ensure that there's food, that the place is maintained, and that the workers are actually paid, because you can't depend on that smallanyana grant that the COCO is getting, that 75% of it actually goes into that institution. So as the department, we fund the other portion of money. For them to get those professional services, it's us as the department that we're carrying those costs. So kancane we're going there, and gradually, those that are still remaining, like those that were providing food in our food banks, some of them actually have not been paid because of challenges of non-compliance. And some, because of non-compliance, they've not been paid. They were not able to pay rent. Our food was actually locked up in some of those warehouses that they were paying rent. Others, as and when we're able to clear them, we've even taken that responsibility of ensuring that we pay their rent directly, because we want to release that food, for the food to actually go to those beneficiaries, whilst we investigate and sort out the challenges that the NGO is actually facing. But our food must be released. We have actually been taken over. Even some of their workers will be paying them directly, so that then work continues. They continue packaging. They continue delivering food to our various communities. Whilst the NPO, we investigated of some of those challenges that are there, and they are able to sort out their matters. So I hope we'll actually reach a finality in ensuring that services are restored.
And I hear you in terms of what you're saying, in terms of restoring the services there, and the most important thing, the efforts in fixing that relationship and bridging, I guess, that trust that happened. But the real question, I think, as well, MEC, while we stand here, is more importantly, who then in the Social Development Department should take responsibility for the blunder? The reality is, hundreds of people were turned away. Many couldn't get the services that they need. Who do we hold then accountable to also ensure that this doesn't happen again?
It can be a mammoth task to do that. Remember, there are various units that are also responsible when it comes to the funding of the NPOs. But there was an independent panel that was also set up that also assisted in determining who must get funding. And there was a forensic audit that was also done. So the outcome of the forensic audits, others you may find is cases as old as 2021, 2022. Like those ones of the places that were then transformed to be substance abuse facilities. Some of them, there were hospitals that were closed during that time of life as it remained. So the department then entered into a contract utilizing those facilities. And the NGO that was responsible was actually given funding. And when it was given funding, later it was discovered that funding that NPO was not in line with certain norms and standards, because the very same NGO ultimately, I think you'll recall between 2016 and 2017, there was that allegation of money being channeled to other NGOs using other NGOs. Others, it's long-standing matters. And court decided on it, and it is alleged that the department did not implement that court order. So some of the NGOs belong to that era. Others, it's recurring non-compliance issues, like occupying a building that does not have plans, a building that is non-compliant, a building that is falling apart. So some of those is compliance matters. That's why we actually say municipalities must also assist, because some of the buildings, they are hired them or they're leasing them from the municipality. Now you find as the department, when they check the compliance issue, they then discover that the building is non-compliant. And that is not their building. It's a building that belongs to either the municipality or any other person. So as a result, the funding gets cut off. So until you have sorted out your compliance issues, that is when your funding will actually be reinstated. So others, they are investigated for old, in Zulu, amatala, old matalas that are now being, because the department was told, oh, you are now in conflict with the findings of some of those recommendations. Go sort them out. That's why they're actually being investigated in trying to resolve some of those matters. Those that still owe the department. Others actually did not return the money that was a surplus to them to come back to the department. That is why they were not actually funded when they investigated.
Thank you so much for your time, MEC. You heard there, of course, the MEC for Social Development here in Gauteng speaking about the issues of non-compliance and essentially the issues arising from those 13 NPOs that are under investigation. Currently, we will get a full report of these alleged allegations that they did in a later time, but in terms of bridging that trust deficit, the department will be hosting an imbizo with the NPOs sometime at the end of July as well, but also an important thing that many of these organizations can now be relieved in the sense that they will be receiving the funding that they need. Back to you, Aldrin.
Thank you so much, Veronica Makhoali, there joining us from Sent. And